Mrs. Brooke paced back and forth in the apartment, unable to find her place. For the second day in a row, her son Paul came home late, and a few days ago he didn't come home to sleep at all. The woman reproached her son that he could have warned her not to worry, but they ended up fighting, and now she was waiting again, pacing the room, looking at her watch all the time. He's in love, but he could have called to save worries. Sooner or later he'll get married. I have to get used to it. Who knows what kind of wife he'll get? I'm anxious. Oh, it's better not to think about it. He is, of course, an adult, but my soul hurts for his future. Mrs. Brooke could not stop worrying. She used to laugh at such mothers who overprotected their adult sons, but now she was no better than them. The woman considered all the girls he introduced her to as unworthy of her son. Mrs. Brooke was quite sure that Paul should consult her in such an important matter as choosing a bride. She certainly knew better than anyone what he needed. Suddenly, the lock on the door clicked. Mrs. Brooke shuddered and immediately rushed into the hallway to meet her son, but halfway stopped, went into the kitchen, and sat down at the table, folding her hands in front of her. "Mum, are you not sleeping? It's late already," the son asked, looking at his mother in surprise. "You know I'm worried. You should have called," she said reproachfully. "Mom, I'm an adult, and I'm not going to answer to you for every action I take." "And where have you been?" Mrs. Brooke looked challenged. "I was at Melanie's." Paul's voice became gentle and a tone lower. "You have a new girlfriend, and I think not the last, but you have only one mother." Mrs. Brooke couldn't hide her jealousy. "Why is not the last? She's the only one, and so are you, Mom." Paul walked over, leaned down and kissed his mother on the cheek. "And please don't talk bad about her. If we fight, you'll be regretting it later. Melanie is my fiancée, and I'll introduce her to you. But she is—" "What? Is there something wrong with her?" Mrs. Brooke wondered if he was going to bring some homeless girl into the house. Like in childhood, he used to pick up kittens and puppies on the street and drag them home. Pity for animals is a good quality, but it's impossible to help them all. Back then, she'd pretend to be allergic and start sneezing, and Paul had to find new owners for them. Unfortunately for Mrs. Brooke, she couldn't pretend like that now. The words were about to roll off her tongue, but she saw her son's cautionary gaze and remained silent. "There's nothing wrong with her, Mother. She's beautiful and a good cook. I like her, anyway, but she's not single." "Are you in love with a married woman?" There must have been a look of fear on his mother's face, because Paul immediately said, "No, of course not. But she has a son. He's 5 years old." "5?" exclaimed Mrs. Brooke. "At what age did she give birth?" "Mum, don't shout. She's older than I." Mrs. Brooke almost choked with anger. Her sonny, her darling, whom she madly loved, for whom she could move mountains and give up her life, fell in love with a woman older than him and even with a child. "Mom, I love her. A person has a right to make a mistake. You said so yourself." "Yes, but her mistake is for life. You can't fix it. Aren't you interested in free young girls without kids anymore?" shouted Mrs. Brooke angrily. "That's why I didn't tell you about her, and I didn't invite her to meet you." Paul jumped to his feet. "I knew you wouldn't understand me. Remember when you told me about that poor girl at your work who was seduced and dumped by her boyfriend? You felt so much sympathy for her. You said she was a wonderful person and that she would definitely meet a good man who would be a father to her daughter. Why can't I be that good man? It's not a fact that with a free and young woman we're going to have a lifelong relationship. I love Melanie and her son. He's a wonderful boy. Mom, you must understand, if even you don't like her, I won't leave her. And now let's end our conversation here so we don't fight further. Mrs. Brooke looked at her son in horror. Paul, I raised you and dreamed that you would be happy. I am happy. That's enough. This is my life, Mum. If you interfere with it, I'll leave, Paul said and went to his room. From that day on, mother and son stopped talking. Paul went to his work in the morning, then spent time with his beloved, and came home late and went straight to his room. Mrs. Brooke did not know what to do, how to fix their broken relationship. Not long ago she cradled him in her arms, sang lullabies, treated his broken knees, and now he had his own adult life. It wasn't easy for her to accept this. Mrs. Brooke could not hide the pain of the rift with her son for long, and shared with her friend Virginia. She wanted participation, advice, and just to speak out. I know I was wrong, but I was unable to stop. I told many bad things to him, Mrs. Brooke said, almost crying. Virginia sympathetically looked at her friend. Do you want him to be around you all his life? Your support is important to him, and instead of this, you cannot come to terms with his choice. Your son must really love Melanie. Look, if you behave like that, you'll lose your son. And, by the way, your own mother-in-law didn't accept you right away. Although you were younger than your husband and without a child, but she still found faults in you. Mothers are like that. They are jealous of their sons. They never approve of their choices. But some mothers humble themselves and mend their relationship with their daughter-in-law, while others declare an irreconcilable struggle. Nothing good will come of this fight. Get over it. He's not married yet. He comes home at night. Go and meet this Melanie. See what kind of a bride your son has chosen for himself. And don't cry. He's not going to war. He's only getting married. The heart wants what it wants. Mrs. Brooke gradually began to calm down. For 3 weeks, she and her son had been living as strangers. This could not go on. And Mrs. Brooke, having learned the address from Paul's friend, decided to go to Melanie to talk and to ask her to let Paul away. On Tuesdays and Fridays, Paul went to the gym after work, and Mrs. Brooke decided that she would visit her soon-to-be daughter-in-law at that time. Knowing that Melanie had a child, she decided to buy him a toy. A toy was a sign of attention, but to the child, not to his mother. Mrs. Brooke went into the store and got so involved in choosing that she imperceptibly decided, today I will buy this car, and the next time I will buy that one, although it is unlikely that there will be a next time. Standing at the front door, Mrs. Brooke firmly pressed the bell button. The door opened by a pretty young woman. A smiling boy ran out into the hallway right after her. He saw the unfamiliar woman, and surprise replaced the smile on his pretty cute face. "Hello, I'm Paul's mother," Mrs. Brooke said. "I understand. Come in, please." Mrs. Brooke went into the living room and looked around. It was cozy, clean, nice. "My name is Tommy. Look, what an airplane I have. It even has a sound like a working engine when the propeller revolves." Tommy showed Mrs. Brooke his airplane and demonstrated how it sounds. "That's great. And I brought you something too, look." And Mrs. Brooke took a box out of her bag. Tommy's eyes immediately lit up with genuine joy. For the next 15 minutes they examined the car and tried its possibilities. "Look, the door's open." Tommy ran the wheels on the floor a couple of times, and the car rolled briskly across the room. "Do you like it?" asked Mrs. Brooke with a smile, watching the kid play. She had completely forgotten why she had come. Several times Melanie came into the room, looked at them, listened, then left for the kitchen. She must have been cooking dinner. Mrs. Brooke only came to her senses when, according to her calculations, Paul was about to arrive. "I have to go," she said, and picked up her bag. "Aren't you going to wait for Paul? He'll be here soon," Melanie asked in surprise, but Mrs. Brooke didn't have time to answer, because at that moment the boy wondered if she would come again. "I will come again for sure," said Mrs. Brooke, and suddenly realized that it was true. "And now I have to go." All the way home she was remembering Tommy's joyful eyes, how he immediately accepted her into the game as his own grandmother. Warmth and tenderness poured into Mrs. Brooke's heart. She liked the fact that Melanie did not ask her anything, did not interfere in their communication with Tommy, allowing them to find common ground on their own. She entered her apartment and looked around. She imagined that one day Paul would not come home, and they would be left here all alone. Mrs. Brooke felt immense sadness and cried. And the next day of work she told her friend Virginia how she had visited Melanie, how she liked to embrace little Tommy, breathe the sweet smell of a kid, so attractive and alluring to any mother. And then Paul called and said, as if nothing had happened, that he and Melanie were having a little party today, and that Melanie had baked a cake and invited her to visit. Mrs. Brooke went into the store after work and bought Tommy the car that she had picked out yesterday. She then headed to the family address. "Thanks, Mom." Paul hugged his mother, helped her take off her coat, and led her into the living room. "Mom, I love you very much, and I wish you were near when I would propose to Melanie." Paul took a red velvet box out of his pocket and handed it to Melanie. "Will you marry me?" Melanie smiled happily and nodded, and Mrs. Brooke, to her amusement, suddenly felt calm and peaceful and happy.